Good evening. My name is Jemima Beatrice, your host for this evening's edition of the Evening Review show. Now, the LGBTI community remains under threat as much as there are no laws that protect their interests. Now, tonight we are speaking to Mama Africa, who is from the Rights Not Rescue organization. She's the executive director there, and she's going to speak to a number of issues, including the recent attack on one of their members, Ashanti. Thank you for joining us in studio, Mama Africa.
Thank you. Good evening, Namibia.
Now, Mama Africa, one of your members, Ashanti, that's the name you would prefer to use, was attacked recently. Can you please speak to us and the Namibian nation on how exactly, what exactly happened?
Actually, let me really, before I really go to Ashanti, let me go to the beginning, especially if it comes to the law processes that is really not friendly to LGBTIQ persons in this country, that has been inherited from the apartheid.
Yes, of course.
Actually, and the hate speeches that is also the contributing factors of the hate of the violence against us, especially if it comes to the issue of the Ashanti, was also because of politician that has been entrusted by us as a nation and voted into powers are sitting in Oke's house, violating the Namibian constitution that they have made. They was also the founding fathers of the constitution, and they are violating the same constitution to stood up in Oke's house and stood up and talking about LGBTI persons with the practice that they are doing in their own rooms. And it also spread the violence to the communities where we are living. And it's how people are start attacking the LGBTI persons. Me including myself, I was also a victim of semi-human hate speech in the past. So, come back to Ashanti's issue is really around how people are taking the hate speeches.
Can you just run us through what exactly happened to Ashanti?
Yes, actually what has happened is that Ashanti was called by her sister to go and collect the money to pay her rent. And
Ashanti is a transgender woman.
Yeah, she's a transgendered woman. And she was with two transgendered sisters. And they have go to Ashanti's sister's house to get the money. And after they have got the money, they was on the way go back to home. It's whereby Oshiwampo speaking guys and Damara speaking guys has come to them and just start insult them. And the two has run and they have grabbed Ashanti and start beating her, slap her and beating her, and take a bottle of wine and break it in her face and start stepping her and using words that says that even Namibian lawmakers don't even want you in this country and you should just to be killed. So it was direct. The hate speeches has been inherited by the societies. So it's the so-called hate speeches that makes us not to have that freedom of movement in this country that has been guaranteed by the Namibian constitution. So it was very painful how Ashanti was standing in blood and looking for help. And actually even what I've understood is that from them, after the arrival of the police officers, they have just come and also doing the same violation. They has come and calling them names to tell them that while you are men, you are wearing women clothes. And it's for that certain reasons that these guys are beating you up. So police was not even, they are there to just provide services, not any stigma against a victim. So the police has also become perpetrators. So it was so painful while a person is standing in blood. Someone that comes to help you is talking about, again, about hate speeches. And after that, one police officer that has come, they have just talk and go while the person is standing in the blood. And luckily the second ones that has come, because they have said that they, as I've understood, they need to go and attend a certain issue that is serious. So for them, Asandi's issue was not serious, but the person standing in blood.
Mama Africa, can we just go back to the police? You are heading the Rights Not Rescue organization, so you are dealing with a lot of members of the LGBTIQ plus community. How has been your experience with the police when it comes to reporting issues of abuse, of assault?
For me, is it really around, police has not been really sensitized enough, but luckily Society for Family Health and Health, which is also equal partner with us in a consortium through USAID, because USAID is funding us. And they really have started with programs that sensitizing the police officers in uniform as well, even the healthcare workers as well. But the issue is around also the same law applies back to the training of the police officers at the college and the healthcare workers at the college, because these laws also applies there. Because of the law, they cannot allow us really to having in the training curricula about serious issues, to embrace them so that they can start having from the beginning in the training. Our hands are cut really, but we're still advocating for that. But it should happen at a stage where the laws will be abolished, because these laws, it's draconian laws of Queen Victoria, which has been inherited by our lawmakers, and it makes for us as Namibians very difficult, because we are Namibians, we are not going anywhere. We remain here because we are born here, and it is also our land.
Of course.
Whether people like it or not.
Of course. Now, the Attorney General, Festus Mbandeka, recently submitted to court that the majority of Namibians still reject homosexuality and that the sodomy law should remain in force on that basis. What do you make of his sentiments, speaking about this outdated law?
For me, as a human rights activist and a defender, for me, is it really around, I have also followed the media to also get that information, and I have got that information where he's saying that majority of the Namibian people are still against the certain practice of us. Mine is really straightforward to him, is that he is not really having an informative research. So he must not come here and speak from his perspective. He needs to speak of the research that has been done. So where is the research? Where is the evidence that Namibians are against homosexuality? We are looking for that evidence. So my concern was really around where is the evidence? So we need to provide the Namibians with the evidence. And the evidence will telling us the truth. Because I strongly believe, as a Namibian, I have traveled to Namibia. We are having satellite offices outside in Namibia. We have traveled and into Ovambo land as well. We are having offices. I am freely moving around also in the evening in Oshibambo land. But I have not been stigmatized as a person sitting here. So what you are saying is just his thoughts. So, but for me, I know certain Namibians, especially if it comes to fundamentalism,
of course.
it's the ones that is instigating violence also against us. So they are influencing the lawmaking processes also in this country. So, and people has believed that in past, we have been classified by the colonial masters that we are 90% Christians in this country, which is not true. Because the horrible crimes that is happening in this country tell us that we are not 90% Christians. And if they claim it, then let us having a research also around that, so that the research must informing us we are 90% Christians. Because I don't believe that is happening, that in this country that we are 90% Christians. And actually what he has really wrote, what we submitted to the Master of High Court, for me, is just, he was also influenced by some group of the politicians to really submit that document to the August House, to the Master of High Court. But for us, as LGBTI plus Q persons in this country, firstly, Namibian politicians has failed and violated the constitution that they have actually developed. And because the Namibian constitution was not influenced by the Namibian people like me and the others. It was just certain politicians that has developed that document. And they call the document, it is a progressive constitution in this world.
Speaking about a progressive constitution in this world, and the fact that you feel that you haven't, as a community, had been given the opportunity to give an input. The Justice Minister, Yvonne Dowsap, recently informed me that you've had robust conversations with her. What are the issues that you've shared with her, and do you think government has done enough? But you have to be brief because we have to go on a quick break, quickly.
For me, is really around, Namibian constitution, it's a very strong instrument to use on this land. But the domestication of the constitution and the literacy of the constitution, most of the Namibians don't understand the constitution and their own fundamental human rights for all in this country. Even the same politicians don't really go through the constitution and read it and understand it, and just talking things that stops them to talk against the Namibian people in the constitution. And even if it comes to the protocols and treaties that we have ratified and signed, are not domesticated for so many years. So it's also a concern. And some treaties is also talking about the fundamental human rights of people in this country as well. So mine is really around politicians must, before you are going to August House and deliver on a speech, you need to prepare yourselves. Sit down with the Namibian Constitution, according code from the Namibian Constitution, and speak to the nation around that. Not speak things, hatred speeches against certain groups of the people, which is very wrong, because it's instigating violence amongst society as well.
Thank you very much, Mama Africa. We're going for a quick break, and then you can come back on the speaking of pushing for hatred in the community. We'll be back in 5 seconds.
Straight Talk is a debate competition for high school learners and a spelling competition for primary school learners, mostly focusing on current affairs among the youth. Contact Zone at synergy.com.na to share your products and services. Straight Talk. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument.
Welcome back to the Evening Review. Now, if you just joined us, we are speaking to Mama Africa from the Rights Not Rescue organization. She's talking to us about the assault on LGBTIQ community and how they are living given the hate speech that are persistently raised by members of parliament and leaders in our society. Now, Mama Africa, before we went on a break, you were talking about hate speech in particular. Now, recently we've had a member of parliament, Jerry Kanjo, talking about sex between men to men. Now, the man on the street would think this is just a conversation that is had. In your community, what exactly does this kind of conversation lead to?
Really, you know, the issue around the hate speech, it's really instigating violence among societies where we are living, because there is already clear evidence that in 3 or 4 years back, in same area of Vanayeta, on different occasions, brutally, there is a serial killer in Namibia that is killing gay men. And one was killed in a room where he rent in Vanayeta. His name was Jeffrey. Jeffrey was brutally killed by a serial killer. That person has not been found until today. We are living in a phobia in this country. Secondly, Dietrich, 2 years back, I think, he was brutally murdered in his mother's house in the back yard flat where he's staying. Brutally murdered. And it has not been come into attention of the press as well, because we are silent.
Why are you silent though?
The issue is, before we're really doing advocacy around that, we need to go back to the family members, to sit down and to be allowed by the family members to really start advocating about what has happened with the cases of the 2 persons that has been killed by this serial killer that has not been found. Is the case still in the hands of the police, or the investigations are still ongoing? So we are living in this country in a fear. So we are fearing for our lives. So some of us are really also having that fear of really going out in the evening to go to a shop. So it's so painful that these sort of hate speeches are contributing to killing of our own people. So, and the violence that is happening with our people in this country. So we are going through every day through gender-based violence that is coming from the hate speeches that has been delivered in the August House. So, and even my pain also goes to the opposition parties. Opposition parties are also suppressed by SWAPO, but they are silent. They are silent on LGBTIQ persons' fundamental human rights and freedom. They are very silent. They sit and hear how we are violated in that same August House, but they don't stood up and say something. So we are worrisome. So therefore, my outcry really goes to the lawmakers that has been entrusted to make laws of this country. And especially, even in that constitution, it's already clear that some of the laws that is not serving in the interest of the Namibians needs to be abolished, whether we like it or not. Because we are Namibians. We are not coming from another planet or other continent. We belong to Namibia in Africa. So we need to be embraced as well. Whether other people like it or not, we need to be embraced, because Namibia, if it comes to fundamentalism, Namibia is a secular state. It's a unitary state. It is not a religious state. They need to understand that.
Mama Africa, one of the prominent lawyers, upcoming young prominent lawyers, recently tweeted that the LGBTI community has many influential and powerful members that are part of this community, and yet these people don't do anything to push for the rights of LGBTIQ community. What do you make of this?
For me, is it sometimes people that is really sitting and serving the nation in the higher authority, but they are coming also from the LGBTIQ communities. The people are having a phobia of losing the dignity and losing the work as well. Therefore, people are not outspeaking to speak about the rights of the LGBTIQ persons in this country, because they are also living under that roof of phobia.
So speaking about phobia, one of the big challenges that we have in this country is access to health services, the new treatments like PrEP and PEP. In your community, do you find that this is accessible without any form of humiliation or judgment?
If it comes to prevention, we are working under the consortium with Andre Health through the funding of the PEPFAR, President Emergency Fund of AIDS Relief. So actually, that grant is really helping us to really break in that barrier of the Namibian LGBTIQ persons without stigma and discrimination to really accessing the healthcare services. So we have really entering that space. Also, enter in conjunction with our organizations, Entry Health is also trying to also really sensitizing the healthcare workers as well, so that we can working closely with them, so that our people can really having that access to healthcare services. Even from the Global Fund, we are also funded for access to services. So, and it's how our people are having access to services without any stigma and discrimination. But a lot needs to be done still.
A lot needs to be done. Now, speaking a lot that needs to be done, the stigma and discrimination also has a huge toll on the mental health of people from the LGBTI community. As an organization, Rights and Not Rescue, how do you deal with this?
Actually, if it comes to mental health, it's a big issue, because most of the LGBTIQ persons, because of the mental illnesses, not mental illnesses, but because of the problems that they are facing in lifetime, some of them has decided to abuse substance as well. And day to day, Monday up to Friday, even in the weekends, people are calling, people wants to meet with the leadership of the organization so that they can get referrals for further services. It's a very huge concern that really our constituency members are facing. So therefore I was saying that a lot of work needs to be done to heal the LGBTI plus persons also that is sitting also with certain burdens in lifetime. And also the contributing factor, the bigger one is also it's the unemployment. Unemployment is also the stumbling block for us, and especially the transgendered persons, because on your identity document it stands that you are born male, and if you dress up, maybe you have applied for a work, you dressed up as a woman and come there for the interview, the stigma starts also there. Maybe you was the best candidate to get that work, but because of your dress code and your identity documents and all of the documents that you have submitted, they will first screen it and look at it, and maybe that work was meant for you, but you will not get that work. So transgender persons are also suffering to get work also in this country. So if it comes to employment situations as well.
Thank you very much for joining us and giving us this insightful conversation, Mama Africa.
Thank you very much for really talking about what is needed in this country for LGBTI plus Q persons in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.